All right, guys, welcome back to another video. I hope all of you enjoy your Halloween. I enjoyed mine. Played 18 holes. Went to a pumpkin patch with my girlfriend, her friend, and her friend's boyfriend. Then we ate dinner, and painted pumpkins. But the highlight of Halloween for me, hopefully my girlfriend doesn't see this, but the highlight of Halloween for me was Chris Greer being fired. Now, they said that they mutually parted ways. I think that is a load of crap. I do. I think that they just couldn't stand Chris Greer anymore. But before we get into the video, I just want to thank you guys so much for 60 subscribers. Don't forget, 250 subscribers. We are doing a jersey giveaway. And Sundays, 12 p.m. Eastern to 12:45 p.m. Eastern, we go live right here on YouTube. NFL pregame show, right? We're going to preview all the games. It's fun. Come hang out Sunday, 12 p.m. Eastern. Every Sunday, 12 p.m. Eastern. But let's get into the video. What's next for the Dolphins, the future of the Dolphins? Where do we go from here? You know, whatever the title is. And it's up, right? The season's over. I've always tried to be optimistic, but the season, it's done. It's gone. It's buried. It's just done. But this is a win. This is a win for me. This is a win for you. This is a win for every Dolphins fan. This is a win for the players. This is a win for the future of the franchise. Chris Greer is gone. You guys have heard me say so many times to be so critical of Chris Greer. And finally, and I found it so funny because I think it was Finn's fan commented on my little video that I posted. It was like 34 minutes long about Chris Greer being fired. He said, when I got the ESPN notification, I instantly thought of you, which is funny because you guys have heard me be very critical of him. Now, we're going to talk about Greer. We're going to talk about McDaniel, we're going to talk about Tua, and we're going to talk about Champ Kelly. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about Greer. And I wanted to address something that I saw that it doesn't sit right with me, right? So on ESPN, on Fox, on NFL, whatever you watch, whatever sports show you watch, there were individuals who were questioning why he was fired, that it wasn't the right decision, and that's concerning to me because these guys have so many people watching them every day, and they don't know what they're talking about. You know how bad Chris Greer was. I know how bad Chris Greer was. The Dolphins organization finally realized how bad Chris Greer was, and they got rid of him. So shout out to Jonathan, ZASLOW, on Twitter, at ZASLOW show. I don't want to butcher your last name. And he was responding to Stephen A. Smith saying that it was a bad choice, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know how Stephen A. Smith is. And I just wanted to give you guys another opinion or hear another voice other than mine telling you the exact same thing. Chris Greer was the longest tenured GM in the history of the NFL to not have a single playoff win. Not Dolphins history, NFL history. Hence, you can make the case Greer was the worst GM in the history of the league. Now, I'm happy that someone else, that I can read it to you, shout out to him, that I can read it to you, and it can just back me up, because I wasn't even saying like he's the worst GM in the league. I was saying he's the worst GM ever. No playoff wins, nothing like that, but he's gone. He is done now, and that is great news for us Dolphins fans because, like I said, the season's over. We're going to have a top 5 pick. Hopefully we have a top 5 pick. Hopefully we have the first pick. Now you're going to have a new guy in there, and he is going to be calling the shots, which is just fantastic. Fantastic news. Let's talk about Mike McDaniel. Now, Stephen Ross comes out and he says Mike McDaniel is going to be the head coach for the remainder of the season. And I think that Ross really likes McDaniel, and I think he liked that duo of McDaniel and Greer. But no matter what wrapping paper he wrapped Greer in and tried to gift him back to the either the people in the building and the franchise or the fan base, we would have rejected him. We were done with him. And I think that Stephen Ross finally saw that. But I think he likes McDaniel. I think he's seen things from McDaniel that he likes. I saw something from McDaniel that I liked in the Ravens game, and watching him actually get mad on the sidelines, I like seeing that. It shows that he's still checked in, shows that he cares. But he's going to be the coach of the Miami Dolphins for the remainder of the season. But let's get into Champ Kelly. our interim GM. And shout out to the Phinsider.com. Phinsider, Phinsider.com. Shout out to them. And let's go over Champ Kelly. Who is Champ Kelly? Let's go over his NFL experience. If you guys want to read this article for yourself, go over there to Phinsider.com. But I'm just going to, briefly go over it. 2007, Broncos hired him as college scout. Was promoted in 2008 and 2010. 2015, he became the Chicago Bears Director of Pro Scouting before being promoted again in 2017 to the Assistant Director of Player Personnel. During his time in Chicago, the Bears had 21 Pro Bowl selections, including 8 selections in 2018. Now, that's great news because clearly this guy can identify some talent. 2022, the Raiders hired him to be their assistant general manager through 2024. 2023 became the interim GM. Now, moving on to, when did the Dolphins get him? This was February 2025. He agreed to join Miami as a senior personnel executive. Now, what is that? He assists general manager Chris Greer and assistant general manager Marvin Allen on scouting pro and college players across the country. So, that is just a little info on Champ Kelly, and I'm interested to see what he does because he's got the reins now. He is in control, and then with the trade deadline coming up and the rumors that we've heard, specifically about Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane, which were swept under the rug because Greer McDaniel said those guys aren't moving. What does Champ Kelly have to say about that? Are they going to be on the move? I'm excited to see the fire sale that will be coming to Miami over the next few days because we've heard names Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Minkah Fitzpatrick, guys like that need to move, right? We need to just fire sale. I don't think that the Dolphins have a shot to do anything this year. I've said it a bunch of times. I think this is a 2-3 win football team. Did not expect the win to come against the Falcons. I thought it would come maybe against the Saints and the Jets at the end of the year. But nevertheless, 2-3 win football team. You're not doing anything this year. Season's over. Sell. Now, do I want Champ Kelly to be the GM moving forward? No, I do not. I would like him to go back into his role. Why is that? Because I do not want anyone who is close to Chris Greer, who maybe shared the same ideas as Greer did, to be the GM of this team. I really just don't. I want you to bring someone in from somewhere else and just have him come in and reset the culture. And you guys have heard me talk time and time again that the Dolphins need to fire Greer first, bring in a new GM, and let him figure out what to do with Mike McDaniel and what to do with Tua. Now, maybe Stephen Ross watches the channel and maybe he said, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. I'm going to do that. I doubt it, but that's what we're looking at here. And let's talk about Tua a little bit. I think that the new GM is going to look at that his salary, look at his incentives, look at the injury stuff, look at when we could cut him post June 1st. And I just hope we get a guy that has some cojones and will just say, you know what, man, you're done. You're out. To him and McDaniel, if that's how he feels, come in there, hire a football-minded head coach, and just really, really, really reset the culture in Miami because there is no culture in this organization. The only culture we have is a losing culture that holds on to something that happened 50-plus years ago. And we can go 2-15, and there will be people saying, well, at least we went undefeated in 1972. Time to move on from that. You guys have heard me talk about that. But the Dolphins are moving in the right direction. The Dolphins gave us something. Stephen Ross gave us our playoff win this year. Stephen Ross gave us our Super Bowl win this year. This was the biggest win of the year for the Dolphins, even if we win out. Even if the Dolphins just turn it around and, just go crazy and win out and go 10-7 and make the playoffs. This was the biggest win of the year. I am so excited to see what the future of the Miami Dolphins looks like. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow, Sunday, 12 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube. Enjoy college football today. Enjoy your Saturday and enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you in the next one.